Hello, welcome or welcome back. My name is Jack, and today we're going to be jumping into an old-ish indie survival game, Near Death. This one's been sitting in my library for a while, and I figured with Halloween and cold weather right around the corner, it would be the perfect time to be lost and afraid in Antarctica. The premise of this game is pretty self-explanatory, but before we get into it, if you have any suggestions for spooky or wintry games you'd like to see on this channel over the next few months, feel free to leave those in the comments. And now, let's put on our snow gear and hop in.
Town, this is Deep Freeze 2. Supply drop was a success. Fuel is 5,000 pounds, 225 miles outside Mactown. Level at 5,000. We are inbound with an ETA of 2 hours and 8 minutes. Mactown, Deep Freeze 2 declaring an emergency. My number 2 is on fire and I'm shutting it down. Hydraulics 1 and 2 reading min pressure. Fuel now reading 10,000 and falling fast. I need vectors for a diversion to nearest. Mactown off. Over. Mactown, are you there?
Okay, think. What's close? There! Sutro! Okay, heading 215.
Sutro Ops, I am on approach for an emergency landing. Sutro, over! Is anyone there?
So I was lucky, or unlucky enough to survive my plane crashing, managing to guide it semi-close to a small research base, Sutro Station. It was nearly pitch black out, so I was very grateful for my flashlight. I opened my tasks, and all I was instructed to do was get to a safe building and contact McMurdo Station, and the only items in my inventory were my flashlight and a battery, so I had no choice but to get moving. I stumbled around in the dark, heading towards the nearest light in the distance, away from the incessant beeping of my downed plane. I leapt into the first building I spotted, shutting the door behind me and turning to find kerosene and a portable heater on the table nearest me, which helped me feel a little less hopeless. I breathed out a sigh of relief when I set down the heater, letting my frostbitten fingers warm up before moving on. I was in rushed panic mode still, not sure how fast I needed to move or how much danger I was in since there were no visible stats. The warning about my heater eventually running out of kerosene definitely didn't help my anxiety levels, so I picked it back up and after looking around the room quickly, I left the building to try and find a way to communicate with anyone. I ran from lamppost to lamppost, reluctant to stray too far from the small signs of civilization, and entered another cluster of trailers labeled comms. The lights were flickering inside, illuminating piles of snow that were swept around the room, and I began getting dangerously cold, putting down my heater again to warm up. I figured out early on that because there were no visible stats, I'd need to pay close attention to audio and visual cues to ensure my temperature wouldn't drop too low, because there was no way of seeing how long I had in between freezing and how long I needed to warm up for. I ran around the building until I entered a room that had a faint buzzing noise and my objective updated. I snooped around aimlessly, trying to track the source of the sound, eventually leaving the building and running up a set of stairs to the highest trailer. I went through a door next to a label that read radio room and found a teletype, apparently the cause of all the buzzing, and sat down to use it, immediately greeted by McMurdo Station. Pilot Flight 173, this is Mactown. You there? Lost communication from plane. Rerouted comms to Sutro. Hoping you made it there. Did you? I'm alive. Emergency landing successful. Not injured. Plane grounded. Inoperable. At Sutro Station. Place in disrepair. Copy. Message received. Glad you're alright. Alright, an optimistic assessment. This you, Jack? Oh my god, name twins. Yeah, hi. Situation is, difficult. But you're gonna get through this. What circumstances at Sutro? Place is deserted. Going to need search and rescue extraction. Like, now. Where is everyone? Bad news. Sutro decommissioned. Good-ish news. Only phase 1 complete. Some supplies, etc. still on site. We're investigating search and rescue options. Decom team left a generator running at minimum capacity, so systems shouldn't be locked up. Advise locating power buildings/generators and restoring main power. Don't know this station. Where are generators? Unsure. Sorry, still digging up Sutro documentation. You could look for station map? Oh, or possible diesel stacks on a roof. And remember, you need me, I'm here. Okay, I'll find them. Keep me advised on search and rescue. We'll report back. Stand by. And with that, I reluctantly parted with my one lifeline to the outside world. My new goal was to stay warm long enough for the search and rescue team to arrive, meaning I needed to restore power to critical buildings and brave the cold in search of the power plant so I could hunt down the generators. I was also now able to view a map, which didn't show me where I was on it, but as long as I knew what building I was in, it would at least help me orient myself a little bit. I picked up my heater and I was off again. I found a little signpost, pointing me in 2 directions, power or Haben Bard, and then I ran off into the darkness in the general direction the sign pointed, finding an abandoned vehicle and another set of signs, getting turned around a few times as my temperature temperature started to drop. I tried to enter a building for warmth, but the door was iced shut, so I was forced to keep moving, eventually finding a trailer labeled power and yanking the door open, immediately putting my heater down and defrosting myself. I looted the building, finding more kerosene, duct tape, a new battery, and some canvas, and then my heater ran out of kerosene. I didn't want to recharge it until absolutely necessary though, so I ignored it for the time being and continued on through the building, finding the next room was full of snow piles thanks to a shattered window. I picked up some wiring and solder there, and also acquired the crafting recipe for window patches, quickly making one and repairing the broken window, refilling my heater with kerosene, and moving on. The next room held a door labeled generator access, exactly what I was looking for, except the generator appeared to be wrecked, requiring me to repair frayed wires, which I did not know how to do, so it was back to the teletype in the nearest room to get assistance. Generator busted. Needs rewiring. I'm handy, but not an electrician. Please advise. Okay, well, Tyrone distributed equipment manuals to satellite stations last spring. Basic emergency protocol proceedings outlined within. Should be one in power building. By the way, Rittenberg Station back online. No casualties, thanks to you. No casualties? Maybe too early to call. Let's get me home first. Progress on search and rescue? Putting our heads together. Focus on restoring power for now. Okay, we'll look for a manual. Stand by for status update. Back to the sound of my own breathing and anxious thoughts as I began to hunt down the instruction manual I needed, warming up when I could and collecting supplies as I went. I crafted and patched another window in the workshop, then crawled around the pipes and generators, getting more desperate as time went on, knowing how much every second counted towards my survival. I eventually found a way up to the highest level after walking through a maze of catwalks and railings, entering the power generator control room and finding a wiring bypass kit schematic on a desk, unlocking a new crafting blueprint. I also found some power switches on the wall, but it seemed like they wouldn't be able to be used until I fixed the problem at the generators, so those were a problem for future me. I went back out to the generators, but the first one I stopped at needed a new fuel pump to fix it. A note next to it said that since the station was being decommissioned anyway, we could live on 2 generators for now, so I also bookmarked that as a future problem. The second generator appeared to be the only one that was already hooked up and working, as indicated by the green power switch I had seen earlier, but before I could find the third, I was getting cold again, so I went back inside to warm up and preemptively craft a wiring bypass kit. I finally found the generator I was looking for, settling in to repair the frayed wiring with my shaky, freezing hands, relieved when I was successful. Then I just had to make my way back up to the control room to activate the matching switch, which was easier said than done in the dark maze, but I made it and flicked it on, restoring power to communications, power, and hab. Then back through the many floors to get to the teletype machine. Man, crawling around the generator rooms made me feel so claustrophobic, and to make matters worse, my temperature was dropping rapidly. My vision began getting blurry, making it even more difficult to find a doorway to escape through, until suddenly everything got crisp and black and white. A tip coming up letting me know that when my temperature dropped to near death levels, I'd have a brief safe period to warm back up. That allowed me to finally make it into the safety of a warm room, my heart thumping, all too aware of how close to death I had just come for the first time. I warmed up, another tip informing me that powered buildings could generate warmth without me needing to use my heater, but only in sealed rooms, hence why repairing broken windows could be very important as I went on. I got back to the teletype and sat down to relay my progress. Good idea with manual. Help me restore partial power. 1 generator still offline. When do I get out of here? Going to be blunt. Immediate search and rescue outlook poor. Not likely until sunrise. Sunrise? That's weeks from now. You nuts? I know you're trying, Jack, but sunup long wait. Wanted off the ice months ago. Understood. Just over winter, you know? Skeleton crew. Most suffering T3 syndromes. Low cognition, fugue states, temp amnesia. Can get you through this. We'll stay in close contact. You won't be alone. I am alone though, Jack. I appreciate your help, I do, but this place is not conducive to, existing. Ideas on next steps? Still cold out here. Well, weather conditions deteriorating. Condition 2 front approaching your location. You're going to have to hunker down until plan devised. Check the hab to see what food is available. Water facility for water reserves. Understood. We'll investigate supply situation and report back. Maybe I'll get lucky and find a stash of pudding pops, the swirly kind. My next objective? Find the food supply in the hab. It wasn't too far from where I was, but it was uncharted territory, so I psyched myself up before stepping back out into the freezing cold. None of the signs pointed towards the hab though, and I kept coming across doors that were snowed in, so I wasn't feeling too optimistic. Eventually I did find a sign off in the corner that pointed me the right way, but I had to stop off in the radio room first to warm up, and then I continued on over the endless snowbanks. It felt like I was doing loops, climbing a ladder that seemed to appear out of thin air, but realizing it just brought me back to comms, and thinking I found a new building, but then realizing it was the same one I had just been in. It added to the claustrophobic, frenzied panic, but then, finally, I made it, never so happy to see a 3-letter word. I looted what I could from inside, crafting another patch and fixing the window, and a new tip instructed me to search for power boxes whenever I encountered unpowered areas, but I assumed that task would be secondary to my main goals. My vision began clouding up again, teeth chattering uncontrollably, so I stuffed myself into a small closet to use my heater, except it had run out of kerosene without me noticing, and I had no refills, and now my panic was really kicking in. I ran around aimlessly, desperately searching for a canister, but then I let out one last breath, and my vision went white. I wasn't sure up until that point what would happen if I died, but thankfully I was able to load back into my latest save. Still a harrowing experience and one I would like to avoid nonetheless. I was back at the teletype, so I had to navigate through the growing blizzard once again, feeling half blind until the trailer came into view. I looted the rooms again as I went, feeling myself relax just a bit when I finally found more kerosene and immediately refilled my heater. I found another power box in the basement and crafted another kit to repair it, finding what comfort I could in the flickering lights after, and then ran back outside and upstairs to keep searching. When I entered a hallway, I could hear distant music, and stepping through the next door was so jarring. Warm Christmas lights lit the place up, and I instantly felt filled with warmth despite the circumstances. Us humans are funny that way. There was a jukebox playing soft music, which I shut off for fear of copyright, my bad, but the whole aura still felt so cozy and comforting as I looked around. There was even an interactive pool table. If I was stuck in this situation for weeks, I would definitely set up camp there. Unfortunately though, after thoroughly searching the building, I didn't find a single scrap of food, and my new objective was to communicate that disappointment to McMurdo Station, so off I went to find the nearest teletype again. Except my other task was to restart the water processing facility, and I felt like it would make more sense to do that and then report that and the lack of food at the same time so I wasn't running back and forth, so I decided to go in that direction first and maybe there'd be a teletype there anyway. I found the bridge shown on the map and eagerly began running across, but then the dreaded sound of creaking metal filled my ears as it fell apart beneath me and I was thrown into a valley of snow, wind blowing me back and forth as easily as though I were a weed sticking out of the snow. I ran to the nearest trailer labeled green and closed myself in, realizing how far off the path I was, and the water task had disappeared, so I explored the building while warming up. Seeing plant life in the middle of endless plains of snow was so uncanny, I almost flinched when I entered the greenhouse room, the trees bare and tendrils resembling some crooked creature in the dim light. The lighting around the area was really sick, and there was a lot of supplies strewn about, but I focused on finding a teletype, hoping there would be one around, and thankfully there was. Antarctica trying harder than ever to kill me. Just took a flight, without a plane, pantry cleaned out, no food on site, weather worsening, was headed to water, now bridges out. I need out of here. Any vehicles on site? Vehicles? Hold. Well, inventory indicates crew left a snowcat on site for phase 2 hauling, but MacTown 225 miles, would never make the trip. Can make it, can refit for long distance. Crazy idea. Sure, but preferable to freeze/starve to death in dark isolation while typing last words to you. Point taken. Alright, so, Snowcat is stored in Sutro Garage, on northeastern edge of installation. Reckon it's worth a look. Going to check it out. You guys run diagnostics, see what I'm going to have to do to get this thing ready for long trek. Feels good to have a plan, even a nuts one. So, off to the garage, more uncharted territory further off from the main buildings. I left the greenhouse and resolved myself to a long hike in the snow, hopping from building to building to defrost. First power, and then I found a small trailer labeled field storage. There were some sticks inside, which I originally missed, don't yell at me please, I'm sensitive. And then outside there were some ropes that I could only hope would lead me safely to the garage. And they did. Only the first door was iced shut, so I had to parkour over some crates and onto a stairway, finding a power box I'd focus on fixing later, and falling down in the most convenient way possible, getting to my feet in front of a door. I crouched in the closet it led to and explored the frigid rooms, finding a blowtorch on the table. I fixed the power box and then did a bit more parkouring over some unsettling gaps, but every new doorway I found was frozen shut, and only after stumbling around for a few minutes did it click that that was what the blowtorch I had found must be for. Sure enough, I was able to melt open a door labeled Bay 2 where I was greeted by the snowcat. I found a bunch of sample and rope pulls, feeling like the outdoors would be a little less scary now, and then I sat down at the teletype in the side room, fingers almost too numb to type. Jack, you there? Oops, typos, sorry. Hands basically frozen. Anyway, Snowcat is present and intact, as am I, more or less. You guys run a diagnostic? You there? I'm here, not going anywhere. Have to tell you, pauses between our conversations extremely, harrowing. Jeez, I feel for you, Jack. Must be awful sitting there with only the heater for company. Though have to say, can't really recommend stumbling around the most terrifying environment on Earth in pitch black with just a flashlight either. Sorry, sarcasm warms me. Thanks for concern. Do you have a plan? Yes, have plan. Spoke to Odile in engineering. Priorities are A. Increase field capacity. B. Modify setup for long-distance communication. Both possible via salvaging equipment. There's an LD antenna installed at comms, but retrieval dangerous. You'll also need to grab a transmitter. As per field situation, acquire storage tank from water building. Grab an antenna and transmitter from comms and a tank from water. Don't die in process. Got it. Maybe some time before I report back. My list of tasks was growing, but at least it felt like I was getting somewhere. I procrastinated going back out into the cold by searching the rest of the building, but eventually I couldn't put it off any longer, so I forced myself back out. I found out though with how bad the winds were getting, I had to force doors closed. Another important thing to take note of amidst my desperation to survive, but I was determined. I'd gotten this far anyway. I tried to make use of the rope pulls, but I think I honestly just succeeded in getting myself more turned around, so I scratched that idea, ending up back at the field storage trailer anyway, and this time collecting the sticks, which turned out to be light poles. I kind of forgot I needed my heater to warm up in there though, since there was no power, heading back out without realizing, and only when I had gotten quite turned around and cold did I realize my mistake, so I retreated to my last save like a coward. I know. I had to loot the place all over again, but this time I was smart and saved before I left the building, thankfully, retracing my steps but feeling just as blind as the last time, putting down a light pole in an attempt to help future me feel hopefully less panicked. And then my temperature was dropping again, everything getting fuzzy before the crystal clear black and white kicked in, and I was freaking out, somehow finding the storage trailer for a third time, but I wasn't complaining, just glad to warm up. And then more running, finding my light pole and a large building surrounded by a chain link fence, which turned out to be the power building. Another fun run through the generators, and then I was able to blowtorch the door to the field trailer next door, and I repaired another power box inside. To my surprise, since I completely forgot about it, on the bottom floor I finally found the fuel pump that the last generator required to fix it, but I had to haul it back through to power and then the generator room. Doing my repairs and running back upstairs to turn on the corresponding power box, the very last one for that area. I managed to make my way back to the comms building, though I wasn't quite sure what I was looking for, so I wandered back through each room, finding some radio equipment that only half worked. I felt like I had searched endless rooms before I finally spotted the next piece, the long-range transmitter, but I was still at a loss for the last thing I needed there, the antenna, until I realized that usually antennas sit on the roofs of buildings, and my stomach dropped. I swear these unsettling winter games always know how to prey upon my fear of heights. With no other choice though, I began searching for a way up, except as my temperature dropped, I only seemed to find rooms with shattered windows, panicking as time ran out to find a safe area, and then I died my second death. At least I had remembered to hit save this time. I ended up finding and fixing another power box as I continued exploring, and outside of a door labeled roof access, there was finally the ladder I had seen earlier on. I climbed up and gritted my teeth as the wind whipped in my ears, ragdolling me around while I walked across the rooftops with my palms sweating. As if that wasn't bad enough though, I came to another ladder and looked up with dread, realizing I'd have to climb the radio tower itself. I got on with it, climbing up as quickly as possible, retrieving the antenna and getting my trembling self down as fast as I was humanly able, wanting off that roof and onto stable ground. My next task was to take the parts I'd collected back to the garage, and just finding the garage in the dark was a feat in itself, let alone while clumsily carrying a giant antenna, but it had to be done. More building hopping to stay warm, and a lot of low visibility walking before I finally reconnected with the ropes and made it back to the relative safety of the garage. I left the antenna there, not sure whether I was meant to assemble it yet or not, and then went on to the next thing I needed, a water tank. I found another storage trailer on the way, picking up a bunch more rope pulls, doing my best to create useful trails wherever I could, and after an unbelievable, almost embarrassing amount of struggle, I found what I could only hope was the water station. There was another power box to repair inside, and lots to loot, and then in the garage area I found a spare water tank, which I'd unfortunately have to stumble around with all the way back to the garage too. I had a rough time going in circles in the dark, frozen to the bone with a stupidly clunky water tank in my arms, but at long last the garage came back into sight, and I was able to carry the tank to safety. After that, I just had to assemble all the parts on the Snowcat, which was a piece of cake compared to the tedious journey I'd just been on. And then back to our good old friend Teletype. Success. Radio gear and fuel tank acquired. Can now check ascending icy metallic tower and violent winds during endless Antarctic night off list of things to do before I die. Or is it list of things to do as I die? Hope not. But conditions difficult and getting worse. Need to get out of here ASAP. What next? Diagnostic not quite complete, but here's what we know so far. You'll need accurate maps of terrain. Can find those in seismology labs. Also gonna need expedition gear, sub-zero bivy sack, first aid, etc. for various situations. Example, you won't have enough fuel to run heat while sleeping. Inventory reports list survival kits left on site. Yay, both should be located in science installation. Where in science? Not sure, sorry. But, should be equipment manifest there that details where things are stored. Find that. That's a whole bunch of stuff I just typed. Got it all? Head to science, locate equipment manifest, it'll tell me where to find expedition kit and maps. Got it. You see that movie, The Shining? A shot at the end with Nicholson and Maze keeps running through my mind. We'll report back soon. If I thought the past tasks had been rough, this one was literal hell. Fuck the science lab, I never wanted to see it again after this. Navigating that cluster of buildings was borderline infuriating, made worse by my eagerness to complete each task and my frustration with being clumsy and weighed down by the items I kept having to carry. I repaired another power box, then scavenged through endless rooms, eventually finding the equipment manifest hanging up on a wall, but I honestly went in one ear and out the other since I knew I'd be checking out each building anyway. I'll spare you the near half an hour of running around and repeatedly dying or almost dying that I went through after that. I somehow with my 2 collective brain cells managed to locate the expedition kit, except I would have to lug it around with me while I continued searching because I didn't trust my directionally challenged self enough to leave it somewhere until I was ready to go. This got me stuck and caused my death a good few times until I finally gave up and dropped it outside of buildings while I looked inside to at least give myself a fighting chance to find the maps I needed, and after an amount of struggling I'm quite ashamed of, I did succeed in finding both. Then it was just one more infuriating trek back to the garage with all my supplies, getting it assembled, and I thought surely this has to be everything. Requesting status report. Jack, got a status report for you. I'm f***ing cold, I'm hungry, and so tired, and I'm one bad motherfucker, cause despite all that, I got the gear. But I don't know how much I got left in me. Tell me the Snowcat's good to go. Tell me I can come home. Okay, but I'd be lying. I can tell you we're really almost there. Really. And you're doing great. You've got the friggin' eye of the tiger. We've completed the assessment. Some bad weather coming in. I know, bad's the only kind down here, but this is like bad weather. You're going to need radar equipment to navigate the storm. Sigh, there is a radio station here. Seen it. In the distance. The far distance. Won't say mountain, but feel like hill is misrepresentation. You want me to go to the top of this hill, don't you, Jack? Yes, wish there was better way, I do. But decommissioned crew left radar installation mostly intact. You'll find portable radar and scope there, which, that's the good news. You're gonna make me ask for the bad news? You already started to identify the bad news. Radar location difficult to reach in normal conditions. Months without maintenance in winter means conditions likely to be extremely dangerous. We're too close to getting you home to... Please be careful. You remember how The Shining ends for Wendy/Danny? That's the ending we're looking for, minus the axe murdering, etc. Good luck. Understood. Currently dreaming of sitting on that ratty Mactown Hab couch, if you can believe that. Soon enough, you and I are gonna sit on that couch, throw a videotape in, and sip on something warm. We'll report back when I've got the radar and scope. And boy did I not like the sound of all this mountain business, but Jack was right, and I was too close to give up now. So I made the long journey from one side of the map to the other, grateful for the little signposts because without them I would have become one with the snow long ago. Seeing the radar buildings for the first time was both relieving and terrifying because I knew I had a monster of a task ahead of me. I repaired another power box, then began my ascent. I had to crouch most of the way due to the heavy winds, crawling from building to building on snow-covered stairways with far too many gaps and missing rails for comfort. Every time I thought that I was at the top, it just kept going up, until eventually I found an area to catch a gondola up to the radar tower, except there was no gondola. My knees were feeling wobbly as I climbed to the roof, hoping I was wrong but already knowing I was right when I saw the thick wires extending out into the abyss. I half expected to go plummeting the moment I stepped out, saving my game before I took the plunge, but I stayed upright, so I tried to calm my beating heart and crawled on, trying not to think about how many miles of inky black night there were below me before I would hit icy snow if I were to slip. Against all odds, I made it, but I still had to keep going up. Broken up stairs circled a bunch of decrepit scaffolding, and I had to climb my way around, jumping over gaps and balancing on planks before I finally made it to the radar facility. A couple more sets of stairs, and I was looking at the glorious radar, plucking it from the roof and preparing myself for the treacherous journey back down. Doing it with free hands was bad enough, but with a radar obscuring my vision and making me feel off balance, it was a whole different beast. However, when I went back outside, the bad weather was clearing up a bit, and for the first time I was able to see the full scope of the research base as I made my descent, which was kind of amazing. As eager as I was to get down, I kept having to stop to take in the view. It was beautiful in an eerily desolate kind of way. It felt somehow rewarding to get to see it all from a bird's eye view and to feel so small looking down at it all after the journey I had been on to get to that point. I got to go on a little gondola ride with the radar before making the painfully long run back down the mountain and through the hills of snow once again before I was reunited with my beloved snowcat, assembling the two final pieces before sitting back down at the teletype for the last time. It's been a while, getting nervous. These messages coming through, damn it, this lack of contact is killing me. Yeah, most things down here have that tendency. Have good news. You can make it great news. Radar equipment retrieved intact. Now tell me I can get out of this place. Oh, thank God. Just informed the team. Should hear the reaction. Been waiting for the chance to say this. Pilot 173, you are cleared for departure. Come home. Gladly. I'm so sick of typing on this thing. I'll give you a call for my new ride. Stand by. I got into the snowcat, adrenaline rushing through my veins as my heart ached for home, and then it was over.
Mactown, are you there? I'm coming home.
What a stunning, haunting, incredible game. I was swept up in the story immediately, so invested in these two characters and my survival. Even the more tedious, infuriating moments where I felt like I would be lost in the snow forever were thrilling because of the determination I felt to get my character home safely. I can't believe I didn't play this game sooner. I went in completely blind, never having seen any footage from it, but I heard such good things and I totally understand why. It's a beautiful, intense adventure, and I hope we get to see more fun short games like this in the future. Thank you so much as always for watching. I'm so thankful for all your support, and I hope you've been enjoying the content, as sporadic as it is. I'm trying to put less pressure on myself to upload consistently or in a scheduled manner at least because my life has never been organized like that, but I do adore this time of year and it makes me want to throw myself into games like these to get the good fall and winter vibes in. I'm wishing you all a very cozy and festive spooky season, and I hope to see you soon in my next video. Bye!